All right, all right. We are Willem and Anneke from the Mission Trekkers.
Welcome to the podcast Travelling Friends of Oz, where we have a chat to other travellers around Australia about their travels, their tips, experiences, and more.
All right, we've got something really great for you guys. We got Hayden, and he's from the Real Australian Dream, and he's got some good news for us to share. So let's hear more about him. Hey, Hayden.
Hi Hayden, how are you?
Good guys, so good to be finally joining the show. I know it's taken a while to get to this point, but pumped, excited to be on and excited to get into it.
Yeah, we're really excited to especially get you at this time. I know when we started talking, it was like more towards the start of you guys actually traveling and before you, I think, went up to the Cape. But now I know you've got so many other exciting things which we want you to tell our listeners about. But we usually just kick it off with you telling your story and, you know, about the Real Australian Dream. How did that come about and your background, really?
Yeah, so I guess the Real Australian Dream was, for me anyway, I thought the Real Australian Dream up until about 12 months ago was to make as much money as possible, and just to have as many, things, boats, toys, houses, cars, all that sort of stuff as I could fit into my life. And I thought that the more I had of that, the more I was entitled to a certain level of happiness. So as a mid sort of 20-year-old, I was doing really, really well in comparison to, the school I went, the friends I went to school with, and even my family. And I had, assets and, all the toys, as I said, that I've ever dreamt of, 10 years ago when I finished school. But here I was thinking, like, what the hell's going on? Something's not quite right with where I'm at. And it was hard to put my finger on it originally, because I should have been happy, should have been stoked. The missus should have been loving life, going on the jet skis every weekend, or taking our boat to somewhere amazing, or living in our really nice house. We should have been the best couple ever. That's what the books tell us that you need to aspire to. But here we were fighting, like, on the brink of a separation, and just in absolute sort of chaos. And anyway, it was about early January, about 2 weeks ago, 15th or so, thereabouts of January anyway, just for my birthday. And I rolled over to, and this is when the COVID and everything was going crazy too, when we sort of weren't, well, not as crazy as it is now, but, crazy for back then. And I sort of randomly, with no thought of it, and because I never really liked traveling got in the way of making money. So, like, I was never interested in travel, because if I was traveling, it meant I wasn't working, which meant I wasn't making any money. So the thought of travel was more of a hindrance than anything. So I rolled over one day and I said, "Do you want to go? Do you want to travel for 3 months?" And she turned around and said yes, straight away. And I couldn't really go back on my word from then. So it was on, and within about 2 weeks, the removalist was in the car, and it happened just like so quickly like that. We didn't have a caravan. We had no camper gear, like pretty basic as. We had an old box trailer and a few bits and bobs, and we left. We got rid of everything, got rid of the toys, and we're sort of like, well, we'll work it out along the way, and that's what we did. And because I come from a property and real estate background, the adage is, the Australian dream is to buy a house. So I used that sort of as a play on words, I guess, to find out what the real Australian dream was for me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the cliche that I was led to believe it was. And that's just me. It could work for other people, I'm not too sure. But for me, yeah, I was on my way to discover what life was about, and sort of just get connected again with my partner, with myself. And 3 months in, it was sort of like, well, I can't go back. Pretty much. I this is too good. Life's too good. And so we decided just to keep going and keep making it up as we went. And prior to my corporate career, I was a muso. And I used to play bar gigs and pubs and whatnot to pay the bills through uni and that. And generally, as you do when you're at camping or whatever, there's a guitar gets pulled out and the beers start to flow, and people tend to get really into it, and that just started to happen coincidentally across the country. And I hadn't picked up the guitar in, it's probably 7, 8, maybe close to 10 years. And here I was trying to go again and play a few tunes and remember what I could. And people were digging it. And so, it just turned into a thing really, really organically and just started happening. Just off picking up the guitar again and hitting the road. So it was bloody amazing. And 12 months fast forward, it's just incredible to even be in the situation, really.
Yeah. And you've had a little bundle of joy join you as well in the last 12 months. So it's obviously been more joyful in the whole relationship and the whole everything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, spending that much time together, she couldn't resist me for too long, No, I mean, that's a miracle in itself, like an example, I guess, of when you alleviate that sort of stuff out of your life or a level of stress or whatever. We tried for years and years and years and years and years without any sort of success. And then literally within a week of packing it all in, about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks of the house was gone, we owned nothing anymore. Next thing you know, Amber's not feeling that well. You can't be pregnant, surely not. Anyway, it turns out she is. And so
Wow.
I used to be a smoker. And so I think I smoked about 5 packs of cigarettes in that one day alone. Because I just thought, shit, here I am, no job, no nothing, no house.
Everything's happening at once.
What am I going to do here? After a week or so of just, panicking, as you can imagine, we sort of were like, well, let's just go with it, and now, she's 4 months old now. And me and Amber were only talking about it the other day, how I'm so lucky and so fortunate that I'm, yet to miss a day of her life. I've bathed her and put her to bed every night, where normally 12 months ago, I probably would have been gone, 5 out of those 7 days, through late nights or whatever. So just truly blessed and just thankful that the cards have come out this way and that I get to this sort of really amazing time with her and as a family. And it's just really cool.
That's so
it sounds like
great story.
A real Australian, like that should be the real Australian dream, it's awesome. It's been amazing because I've kind of been, we've been following your journey kind of from the start and we've seen it unfold and you're doing really well and you're loved by so many people because you're just being yourself and you're actually enjoying it, which, and you guys just did it and jumped on it, and you can see that it's all about the love for like you said, you didn't even know that you love traveling. Now it's like a thing you might not even stop doing.
It's just, and that's exactly right. It's been such an amazing experience, like getting to know people like yourself. But there's just a whole new, traditionally, right? Like, I don't know for you guys, but in my mind, when I think about traveling Australia, I think about 65 to 75-year-old retirees, and that was what was in my mind. I'm like, look, it's not going to be my jam. I'm not going to be into that. There's only so many times that you can talk about the good old days or whatever, and that's not to be disrespectful to anyone in that sort of age bracket, but it just was like, oh my God, there are people just like me and you, hun, that are on the road that you've just got, shared commonalities with, just like yourself, small families, children, and that just want to travel and be a part of a different sort of life, I guess, than what was traditionally expected, even 10, 15 years ago. And so that was, I guess, one of the really things that ignited the fire in my belly, was saying, like, okay, this is possible. Like, we can, it's not just a holiday thing. We can do this, we can work out a way somehow. Like, particularly with, I think COVID's probably sped that up a lot, whereby people are a lot more acceptant of working remotely and the opportunities that companies have sort of made available to younger people in the workforce. And so for me, I can't think of a better way to live my life than traveling Australia, spending time with my family. And if you can make money doing whatever you were doing beforehand at the same time, then you beauty.
So I'm assuming your companies and all is still going, your businesses are still going, or have you left all that as well?
No, well, so when in January of 2021, so I was unemployed. So that was so when we left, we had no work, and we were just, okay, we got savings, sold our boats and jet skis and that because we didn't have it. So we're like, okay, well, we got money in the bank. We'll work it out later. And there's just been things that have fallen into place from a work side of things and connections and whatnot that I've had, that I've been able to keep some consulting work going through. And I guess there's that, particularly in this world, there's always people that need your help, whether it be, with marketing or social media or, just being on the phone or from a customer service, angle. And people don't expect you to be in the office anymore. So luckily I sort of, started a consulting business on the fly in the sort of, social media sort of world. But I mean, that's not to say you have to do that. There's so many other sort of avenues that people are open to now,
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many options that you could have gone through. I mean, when you thought about traveling, like, why did you choose this type of traveling, around Australia, or, the type of setup that you have? Because you could have gone to another country and maybe do a working holiday, to sort of break free from your normal setup, or there's so many different options.
It was just purely by luck. Like there was no game plan or thought or purpose into any decision making whatsoever. Like literally, as I said, I'd never ever thought about traveling at all before, for whatever reason, and I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I remember it clear as day. I just rolled over and said, "Hey, do you want to go traveling for a couple of months?" And I have absolutely no idea, because I didn't even want to do it. When she said yes, I was like, "Oh shit! Oh man!
Oh no!
I don't really want to do that." Like
it's like it wasn't you talking; someone else was talking.
Yeah, exactly. It was like I was on. Yeah, like it's just like something fate or whatever was just like, okay, it made me do it. I don't know. I don't know why I said what I did, but I did. And again, like initially started off as, okay, well, let's just spend, let's make a budget at 10 grand. And then once we run out of that money, we'll just come home and we'll get back into life and do what we're meant to do. And then keep paying off the mortgage and yada, yada. And then, like I literally within the first month, it was like, I can't go back. I can't go back to this. And it took me like a month of like just, picking up my phone, no email. Because I was used to, my call stats were like, if a 24-hour day, I'd spend at least 10 of those hours on the phone.
Yeah.
And I'd have 200 emails a day to respond to. So I was in like autopilot, like constantly scrolling, like, trying to refresh my email outlook on my phone, and nothing was popping up. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So it took weeks to literally snap out of like being able to like sit in silence. And even now, like still kind of struggle to be like sit in like an ambient silent sort of setting where you're like, oh God, there's really nothing going on. But I'm really working on that's one of my things for this year. Really going to work on just being totally comfortable with silence. Yeah. Because I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm like a little energizer bunny. I'm always wanting to move or go or do something, and I'm really trying to take a few deep breaths from time to time and just take the moment in that you're in then and there. But in relation to back to your question, there was no purpose or reasoning as to how we ended up here. It literally just is how the cards have been dealt along the way. And life has a real uncanny ability to deal you the exact hand that you need. And in this case, it did.
Yeah. All right. So now you're traveling. You've decided you're going to go traveling and stuff. How did your setup go? Did you, like you said, you had nothing. So you bought something. What did you buy?
Nothing at all. So we had a box trailer with an old canvas set up, on it originally, and that was literally just with clip-on boxes from Crazy Clark's on the $2 shop with just plastic cups and plastic knives and forks, and that was like as basic as it was. And it was, it was just basic as. And so we set up our first spot. It was such a nightmare that we ended up staying at that first spot for a month because we didn't want to unpack that badly because it was such a cluster. We're like, it was such a shit show. I'm not unpacking this thing. So we stayed in the first spot for a month. But we loved it, because there was a spot in northern New South Wales, a place called Jack Adgery, still one of my favorite places in the country. And it was just phenomenal. No service, no nothing. And it rained for probably 3 weeks out of the 4 weeks. And so everything was wet. But we were just laughing. It was like, this is living, this is living. And when it got to the point, like we had a snake in our bed, we had a few different things like that pop up. We're like, oh well, maybe we should think of something a little bit like more sort of appropriate if we're going to do a bit of traveling, because we can't be staying at each spot for a month because we didn't want to unpack it that badly and pack it up. So then, literally typical male, I went on Marketplace, first caravan that popped up, I went and bought it. Left the box trailer at a family member's, and we kept on going. This time with a little Jayco expander caravan, and that was the caravan we had, for the rest of the trip, or the rest of the last sort of 6 or 9 months. And obviously Amber found out she was pregnant along the way, and all that sort of stuff. And by that point, pretty much by April of 2021, we knew that we had to make it work on a more long-term level, because the thought of going back, I just don't think I could do it anymore. I really don't think I could go back to the life I had, even though that's everything I wanted everything I worked for, everything I wanted for such a long time. I just, it's a real interesting situation that we found ourselves in. We went from, the nice restaurants and all the trimmings to eating, nazi goring under a, wet soaked canvas. And here we were with the 2 biggest smiles on our face ever, and we just couldn't have been happier, So, wow. Yeah, the setup, I guess, is part of it, but the company was the best part of it, the trip so far as well, and just getting back to a basic level of even just in our relationship, just enjoying each other opposed to all the outside noise.
Yeah, and connecting with other people, because I think, like, we heard it a few times as well, like, and the same with us, like, we don't even really know our neighbors. The guy next door, he's just the boyfriend of the girl who lives next door, but he's also a traveler, and that's why he
came over, introduced himself,
and he talks to us,
and we had a good chat, but we've never talked to her.
Only because she's seen we're building a caravan, but the rest of our neighbors, we don't even know. Like, everyone just goes into the house, and you don't see each other.
Funny that, isn't it?
If you're probably in a caravan area when we've gone camping, you're like, hey, you start chatting to people, and it's a whole different community and mindset, and people more open, and that's what I love about the travel community.
Like, one thing that it just changed my whole way of thinking. Like, and people have opposing views of this sort of thing, and that's cool. But the amount of kids that would come up, from traveling families and have full-blown conversations like they were 30-year-olds, like just so socially aware and confident. And I was like, that reminds me of me as a kid, because I was raised by a single dad, and so I spent a lot of time hanging around with grown men, and so as a result, I became a really good communicator and could hold a conversation with a 40-year-old when I was maybe 7 years old or 6 years old, and I was like, that's how I want my kids to be. You can teach maths and English, and you can teach all that sort of stuff, but the thing that I see lacking is social awareness and the ability to communicate effectively. And here I've got these young kids who aren't even up to my knees, talking to me like they're an adult too. I'm like, this is bloody great, And so that's where my mind's gone as well. Like, that's the effect that we're having on our kids. Like, we need to immerse our children in these sort of experiences, and obviously people can't do it for a sustained period like potentially you guys and we can, but if we're lucky enough to do that and immerse them in a world where they're learning so quickly and being so immersed in people, I guess, and not losing sight of the human connection, which, let's face it, a lot of the world has lost, a lot of that human connection, in recent years particularly, then it's something I want to be a part of too.
Yeah. And now you're talking about experiences and, living on the road. Tell us some of your best and or worst experiences that you want to share. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky sort of fella, so I take it all in my stride, and sometimes it might be like, oh, this is an absolute cluster, but it's always still a bit funny, if you find yourself in up Schitt's Creek or not, it's always a laugh, from where I am, regardless of a situation you find yourself in. But I mean,
there's been a lot of pinch me moments whereby you just on you look back at your old colleagues or old friends and you see them literally grinding themselves away, and you sit there and you think, oh man, that's the most seeing like simple thing. I mean, you guys at WA based, so you see it every day, but I've never seen the sunset over the ocean, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And and that we're on Weipa, which is on the western side of the Cape, and just seeing the sun drop into the ocean was just like, man, that's cool. Like I'm actually somehow I'm doing this. So there's heaps of those sort of moments, and there's heaps of moments where you're like, oh God, this is average. And that's just life. That's going to happen whether you're living in a mansion or whether you're living in housing commission or whether you're living in a caravan. There's good and bad in everything, and as long as the good outweighs the bad, you're home. You're in heaven. But like, we had no setup. Like there was no planning, so there were a lot of stuff where we're like, oh man, that would have been good or that would have been handy. Like there was no, like, we got bogged, within the first couple of weeks, and I didn't know what max track. Like I didn't know what max tracks were, or didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know there was a thing that could help you get out of those situations. So the tire started to slip, and the more it slipped, the more accelerator I gave it, the deeper we went. So there's all those moments, and then you're literally in the middle of nowhere, and you got your pregnant wife. And she's, it's like 40 degrees, and I'm like, oh God, and there's no one around. So then I'm walking for like 3 hours just trying to find help. There's heaps of those situations.
Yeah.
But it's all fun. You can, as long as you get out of it safely, you sit back, after that night and have a beer over the fire or whatever. You think, life's good. That's fun.
Have a good laugh, funny. And it's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
That's great.
Do you have any so far? I know you've not done too much because you're going to do your complete lap soon. But any destinations that you absolutely loved and would love to go back to?
Oh yeah, I mean, and this is the other thing that you just opened your eyes. Like, I can't believe, like, I had no idea that there was a place called Fruitbat Falls or any of those places. Like, how do we not know? This is in our backyard. I had no idea that there was Carnarvon Gorge, and this is just in Queensland I'm talking about. I mean, not even mentioning the rest of the country. Like, it's just amazing how much amazing stuff there is in Australia, and I just can't believe that people are spending money on going overseas. Like, I will never go overseas again until I explore every inch of this place, because I just can't believe. Like, I've been to Fiji a heap of times. I've been to Indonesia and Asia Pacific countries, and I've never ever seen anything more amazing than what I've seen just in Queensland alone. Queensland, New South Wales. So there's obviously the Cape, and the tip of Australia is amazing, and like, as I said, Telegraph Track and Canal Creek and all those beautiful places on that. And then there's places that are just, like, as I said, our first stop, Jack Adgery, which is northern New South Wales on the Man River. And it's like, you've seen the Great Northern ad, the beer from up here, and it's like these beautiful crystal clear rivers that flow through mountains, and you think of somewhere like that, you're like, this doesn't look like Australia. This is not this. You feel like you could be anywhere in the world right now. So I'm super excited to see amazing stuff, that the rest of Australia has an offer, particularly the West Coast. I've never been to Western Australia, so for me it's like a different planet.
There's a whole other 10,000 worlds up here, like
even WA.
Just in WA, like the red dirt,
we haven't even seen
everything, the beaches and the stuff. Oh man,
yeah, exactly. I'm just frothing to get like Gibb River Road and all that up there. I just can't wait to test out that. The South Australia, I've heard is amazing. Tassie, like I've never even been to Tassie. I've literally never been anywhere but the Eastern Seaboard. So in Australia wise, it's just Arnhem Land. You can go on and about it, but it's just so much good stuff. There's so much good stuff that I'm yet to see, and that I think the majority of Australians are yet to see. And that's the great thing about social media, right? Until I connected with people like yourself and other travelers, I would have still had no idea these places existed. So I guess that's one thing that technology has definitely enabled us to find out more about our backyard and see the amazing beauty that we've got right here.
100%, yeah. So on that note, what is your plan obviously borders, you know,
Oh, but
if
hard.
it's all open and everything's clear, what do you have sort of a plan of which way you're going? Or
Yeah, so obviously we've got the tour, which is kicking off in about a month or so, and that's New South Wales to start off with. And so pretty much going down the coast, across the Murray River, which borders Victoria and New South Wales, and then sort of hit South Australia, the Port Augusta it's called, then up the Stuart Highway, which goes right through the centre of Australia, via the Oodnadatta track or whatever it's called, and pretty much pop out at Darwin, sort of at the start of winter, and then do the Gib and spend as much time on the sort of top part of WA as possible in the winter time next year, and then sort of just plan it from there. But that's our initial sort of 6 months, just to
kind of going
to
like
get
that.
Go down and up for the initial part, and then get to WA, and then sort of just see. I mean, you've got to be sort of guided by the weather, I guess, a lot, in Australia, and make the most of the winter, obviously, in the northern parts, and then you can spend the hotter months in the southern parts. And we're trying to, because the tour is all for Make-A-Wish, we're trying to sort of link in with the most popular parts of the country at the most popular time, so that we've obviously playing in front of as many people as possible, so that we can raise as much money as possible. So we're one of the few ones that are following the crowds this year.
Yeah. Can you on that note, like, tell our listeners, because obviously not everyone knows you and what you're doing, and tell them about your tour and where they can, well, maybe not that, maybe you don't have the spots now, but you're probably going to have it somewhere on your social media once you start going. But what are you doing? How did that start? And
it literally just started, as I said, like I was playing the guitar around the campfire, and then there'd be people who would wander over, and and they'd just sit and enjoy it, and then I started a thing called the Campfire sessions, whereby I just, like a madman, played on my phone screen, and for Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and people tended to stick around and watch it and get involved and be there every week. So it sort of just got me thinking, like, people are sort of digging it, people are loving it. How can we use this sort of thing that I'm doing to do some good, and it sort of just originally just sort of popped into my mind, like, okay, maybe I can just do some gigs, and maybe that's how I'll fund my travels. Maybe that's how I'm going to fund it. And then I thought, no, there's a bigger play there. We could do more than that. So I just literally just penned the tour and rang Make-A-Wish, and I thought, that's obviously one of Australia's most trusted charities, and they do incredible work for critically ill kids, and it really aligned with me, because I guess one of the biggest things that's changed in my life is the importance I've put on time opposed to money now in my life. And now I guess I realize that time's the most precious commodity that not only I have, but we all have. And Make-A-Wish, I guess, resonates with me particularly because those families that going through such a traumatic experience or time with a critically ill child is just so so heartbreaking, and then they're trying to come up with obviously funds for treatment and stresses that go along with that sort of experience. As you can imagine, it's just it would be awful. So for me, Make-A-Wish, giving that family or that child just that moment of happiness. It might well be they might not have long on this earth to enjoy, so giving them that memorable experience that that not only they can enjoy but their families can enjoy as well. It was super special to us, and making the most of whatever time that some of these kids had left. So being able to do something for Make-A-Wish is truly amazing, and really honored to be a part of it. And it's just amazing that the travel community that we've been talking about is gotten behind it, since I sort of started to make a few murmurs about it. people were like, yeah, that's great. Let's get involved. And, the caravan parks around the country, it's going to be over 50 shows in caravan parks and campgrounds, and another 20 odd shows, guerrilla type gigs in just free camps and that around the country. So somewhere between 70 and 80 shows around Australia. Caravan parks are getting behind it, and donating a portion of the fees, nights fees to Make-A-Wish, or doing sausage sizzles.
Wow.
And it's really sort of been really humbling to see other people and organizations and other companies also get involved and work with me to try and get really good ways that we can raise as much money. I have a habit of probably shooting a long way in terms of shooting for the stars with ambition, and but if you aim for the stars, at least you land in the clouds. So I want to raise I want to raise 50 grand. That's our goal, and I think we can do it. And with the amazing support, as I said, of not only the caravan park network and campground network across the country, but travel community, and then these businesses in the travel industry as well. I think we can do it, and that's going to
100%.
just do amazing stuff for Make-A-Wish and the critically ill kids they support. So it's going to be unreal. It's going to be epic.
My next question was obviously on that. Where could our listeners find you? If you just want to drop all your handles, all of that, so they can find you.
Yeah, so it's at The Real Australian Dream, obviously on Facebook and Instagram. My name is, if you're on LinkedIn, it's just Hayden Ashton, and we'll have a website in the next couple of weeks, which will just be www.therealaustraliandream.com, I think, or .au, one of the two, either .com or .au. Can't remember.
It's in your link in your bio, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So this podcast isn't going to be put out there probably in another few weeks, and I know you've got some secret that you're holding back on. So obviously the people who are listening to this is going to kind of be like behind probably your announcement of your van.
Yeah.
So if you could like release it on here, and we'll keep it a secret. Of course.
Yeah, no, it's going to be released imminently. As I said, like we're super fortunate that that there's been just some amazing companies get behind this initiative and really come up with some really unique ways that we can do it. So first of all, obviously we're as sort of we've been sort of making mention to on our socials, we've linked up with a caravan company out of Adelaide. So the company is actually called Adelaide RV, and they're the exclusive dealer of Leader and Supreme caravans in South Australia. And so they're Jeb and the team, Jeb and Cassie and the whole team have been amazing to deal with, and so they've hooked us up with a Leader expedition, which is a full off-road caravan, just over 21 feet to do the tour in. So we're super stoked and thankful to have their support, and working alongside them in a not only on the sponsorship side of things and getting involved with the tour, but also being a little bit of an extension to their team and being able to provide their clients. They grew 10x last year in caravan sales, and they're one of the fastest growing caravan dealers in the country, and that is for a reason, because they're putting their clients first. So engaging me on a role to sort of try and give some value back to them and assist their clients with traveling tips and ideas. So for me, that's like a dream opportunity, in addition to obviously the tour, being able to create content that's going to go to assisting other travelers discover their real Australian dream, perhaps, is super, super cool. And then EFS, which is one of Australia's oldest and leading 4x4 accessory companies. They're kitting the car out and getting it ready to travel right across the country. So we're very thankful for their support too, and they're going to be giving away a stack of prizes to raffle off and across the country as well, to help us raise more money again. And then there's just so many other businesses. Mo Tackle and Outdoors are doing a heap for us. Willem Wind, Oz Tent, Mark Matt. There's a lot of guys that have really come to the party and thrown their weight behind this, and and they're all good Aussie businesses too. And I think that stands at the core of everything we're trying to do is supporting each other and supporting these Aussie kids, and they're really getting behind it, and just super thankful for their support.
How beautiful.
That's amazing. Congratulations anyways, because I know that's an awesome caravan, obviously, from people we know who's had that one as well and was ambassadors, but
no, super stoked. It's going to be good. It's 2022 is going to be a year, I think, that the world returns to normal, and I think that 2022 is a year that you can redefine your normal too. I don't think the normal is the normal anymore. I don't think it has to be. I think you've got to go out and discover your own path, and not just travel based. Obviously, it's a travel podcast, but just anything. I think like one thing I've learned is that life's too short to mess around chasing someone else's dreams. So that's what we're doing, and I think everyone should do it as well. And sometimes our circumstances don't allow us to do it, but if you've got the opportunity, make the most of it and milk the life of lemon for everything it's got.
That's it.
Yeah,
life's a garden, you just got to dig it, as Joe Dirt would say.
Good, that's a good one.
That's it. The other thing I need to work on for 22 is my mullet game. This time next year, I want to be able to flick it off my neck. I really want to get into it.
Yes.
Don't even add to it.
I'm with you, Hayden.
Oh,
I told Anneke this year I'm not cutting my hair all year. I'm going to
yes.
The only reason that you could do it is if you start putting it out there that you're raising money for his
okay,
thing,
deal.
There we
Deal.
go. There's a challenge.
But it's all going for Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. There's a challenge.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. We can have you. We can do a show wherever you guys are, and we can do the final shave off, and sell a portion of your hair to the highest bidder.
That's it. Yeah. Let's do it.
I think my hair would get more than yours.
Yeah, probably.
No, but
awesome.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's been awesome. We learned a lot from you, and it's been overdue, and been one that we've been wanting to get on here as well for so long. So unless you have something else that you want to share with our listeners or viewers, a bit of advice, or just the last bit of, I know you like to give your little spiel, so if you want to give them one last.
Oh, well, look, I guess I would love to see as many of you guys out and about around the country as possible this year. It is it's been a crazy couple of years for all of us. So I'd love for everyone to come down to a show, and not necessarily to give any money or anything like that, but just to let the world go by for an hour or two and forget about all the stuff that's going on in the world or in your life or whatnot, and just enjoy the moment. I'd love to see everyone, and I can't wait to whether you're going to be at a show or through the phone screen or wherever, taking you guys on a journey and just working it out as we come, and not taking life too seriously. I think that's at the essence of the entire journey. I really have no idea how to organize a tour, to be honest with you. It's an absolute cluster right now, but we're going to work it out. We'll work it out along the way, and we're going to have a heap of fun doing it. And that's part of the appeal, I guess, of hopefully why you guys are following along, is that we really have no idea what we're doing. I'm pretty new to this whole sort of world, and you can probably sort of see that in some of the experiences that I found myself in particularly in the 4x4 world and whatnot. But we're having a crack, and we're loving it, and we'll work it out as we go. And and I guess looking forward to just connecting more so with people like you. And that's been the best part of all of it. Take away the fact there's other career opportunities and that opening up. It's just been like I've just met people that that are just friends, just friends now, that you can all around the country, that you can pop in at a day's notice and have a beer, a barbecue, or put your head on a mattress, and coming from the same sort of belief system of just opening your mind and heart to people around the country, regardless of your background, regardless of your race, religion, whatever it is, and just taking it on face value of a common ground of loving to explore or loving to live and experience life. And that's been the best part, more far and above anything else.
Yeah, That's
So
great.
there it
Hayden,
is.
and
There's the close.
Yeah. I want to say that's great. And if any of you really want to check Hayden out, go check out his music, and the tour's coming up. So yeah.
And if you really want to check me out, you can go to my OnlyFans. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Check him
We'll
out.
cut that out. Bleep.